Awesome. Jasmine, when you asked us to speak at Hashi Talks, you didn't tell us we were going to be following up Gabe. So that's not cool, but we're going to try our best. So anyway, we're here to talk about the Terraform Cloud Module Registry and automating it with GitOps. Really quick introductions. I'm Nate Jones. I'm a lead engineer. I'm joined by I'm joined by Connor Ryan. We're with 8451, which is a data science company that's part of the Kroger ecosystem. I won't go too far into the slides. I won't go too far into our presentation here, but I just want to give you guys a high level introduction of what we built, and then we'll do a demo, which I'm sure is more of what you all want to see. So really quickly, just about our Terraform journey and how we ended up needing this solution. We started using Terraform in Azure roughly 5 years ago, and we used a landing zone pattern, right? So we're giving people templated code and letting them use that to stand up their own infrastructure. When we first started, we had a centralized cloud enablement team, and they were kind of doing all the modules, writing them. And so you had a pretty centralized experience. You knew which variables, which outputs to expect, that kind of thing. Well, as we grew, kind of got more mature in the cloud, that cloud enablement team kind of got dispersed a little bit, and so we started shifting towards more team-driven module development. So, our database team has like Postgres modules, Linux teams working on like a virtual machine module. You've got the network team working on their stuff, right? So it's more spread out. At the same time, we started using Terraform Cloud, so we're using the private registry, right? And so with that, more widespread development, we started getting more modules added to the private registry. And as part of that, we needed good testing to continue providing that consistent module experience. So here are a couple of the challenges that we came across as we were building this out and the solutions that we came up with. So number one is permissions requirements, right? So you need to get a new module into the registry, you have to either be an owner or you have to have registry admin. And we didn't want to be like giving that permission out to a bunch of people. So our solution to that is PR-based module publishing. So the idea here, and we'll get more into this in the demo, but the idea here is that you can put in a PR and our CI/CD on the back end will handle actually having the permissions to add a module to the registry. Number two is module versioning, right? So when we started working on this, you had to use Git tags if you wanted to version a module in the registry. And we talked about like the distributed development. And so not all these teams are really used to that Git workflow of like tagging your modules and all that. So our solution to that is the semantic release versioning workflow. So Connor's going to show you all Comitizen, which is a tool we use. And the idea here is as long as you format your commit messages correctly, our workflow will actually handle all the tagging, all the feature, break fix, all those different commits. It'll handle the tagging for you. Finally, number three is local testing. So, as many of you can probably relate, our cloud environment isn't exactly all the same, right? There's a lot of different environments, and we wanted to provide module developers with a way of testing all the possible cases that people might be using their modules. So, for that, our solution is automatic test workspace generation. So, we actually generate workspaces for you to test your module. So, we'll dive a little bit more into the solution here, and then we'll get to the demo. So, first thing is automated module publishing. We call it the module, right? So the idea here is a GitHub repo that developers can PR into and just say, hey, I want a new module. So if that PR is approved, they'll get a templated Git repo that includes our semantic release workflow. We also included an on-ramp if they wanted to bring their own repo, but we really encourage them to use the templated repo so that we can keep that consistent structure of how a module should look. The next thing they get is test workspaces in Terraform Cloud. So these are all CLI workspaces, so they can really quick get a plan or apply as they're writing code and see how it's going to impact the environment. Third, and most importantly, is an entry in the Terraform Cloud registry. So whether they used our templated repo or if they brought their own, either way, if they go in through this process, they'll get an entry in the registry pointing back at their repo. Next thing is the semantic release workflow. So the idea here is, we're using Angular commit messages. So features or fixes, whatever the case may be, breaking changes, right? As long as you have those commit messages in when you PR, this workflow that we include in your repo will automatically run through and tag. It'll actually tag when you merge. And my favorite part of it is the change log. So I hate writing change logs. So the nice part about this workflow that we include is again, as long as your commits are tagged properly, it'll generate that for you and say, here are all the breaking changes, here are the new features, here are the bug fixes, that kind of thing. That's super cool. Again, local testing, right? This one's fairly self-explanatory, right? You got your test directories within your module. You just tell our repo, hey, here are my test directories, and it'll automatically create those workspaces. And again, they're CLI workspaces, so you can test it really easily. And you can add additional directories as you uncover more test cases that you need. So that is it for the slides. Now I'm going to show you the experience as someone who's putting in a new module to our registry. All right. So this is it. This is the Terraform module registry. So you'll see here, we've got tons of files in here that teams across our org have added as they're coming up with new modules that they want to share with the organization. We've got Key Vault, we've got Linux virtual machines, all sorts of things that other teams have added into this. We've also got a contributing document that shows you pretty much everything you need to know. If you want to get a new module, add it into our org's private registry so other people can use it. You just have to follow this contributing doc. And down here we've got, hey, I want to add a module to the registry. And you just kind of follow these steps. We've actually got a templated Terraform file that you can use. I'll show you that in a second, but depending on which scenario. So for example, if you want a new module and a repo, or if you already have your repo, you just want a new module, you can follow the appropriate steps and do that. So now I'll show you the module that I added this morning here. So we've got our HashiTalks test module. Again, we're calling my favorite module the module, right? We're giving it a name here. So we call it Terraform Azure RM HashiTalks demo. We've got some variables that are there all the time. We've got some information about the Git repo. So Connor and I are the code reviewers here, and we've got a team that's going to own the repo. Here's what I was talking about with our tests. So by default, it starts with just a test directory, but if you uncover some more test cases that you need, that you want to test your module with, all you have to do is add another entry here corresponding to a directory within your module. And this process, the next time it runs, will go ahead and add new workspaces for you to test with. So this is my module, my Azure RM HashiTalks demo module. So now I have to put in a PR, right? We love formatted code, right? So we ask you to make sure you've run your Terraform format, make sure you clean up all your code and whatnot. And so when you initially put in this PR, you'll get a plan as you're used to seeing, right? You'll get a plan here. Now we've already approved it and merged it. So this was actually planned and applied. So I'll show you that in Terraform Cloud. So here's the other side of this. We had a repo on the front end. Now here's our back end workspace that's connected to it. So we've got our Terraform module registry, which runs every time someone commits to that repo. And we'll see, here's our plan, right? So we're using the TFE provider and the GitHub provider. So we're creating some familiar things, right? We've got a GitHub repository. We've got some team access. We've got some branch protections and stuff that we're not going to talk about too much today. And then here's the other side of it, the TFE stuff, right? So we're creating a workspace. We're adding some variable sets to it, giving a team access to it. And of course, most importantly, we're actually using the TFE registry module resource to create an entry in the registry that's pointing at this repo. So there was our plan. You can see we've got quite a few things in here. Now here's our apply. So we got a successful apply. So now we should see a new repo and a new entry in the registry. So now I'll show you that. Yeah, here's our new repo. And you see it's generated from our module template. So it looks, at least from the start, it looks how we expect all modules to look. So, we've got this standard directory structure. There's our test directory. Here's our workflow that we were talking about earlier here. So it already comes pre-populated with that. So we're calling our semantic release workflow. So it's all there for you to get started. The other side of this is the module in the registry itself. So here's my Terraform Azure RM HashiTalks demo module. Now you'll see I haven't pushed to it yet. The workflow hasn't run yet. So it's got no tags. It can't be used yet. And so at this point, I am going to turn it over to Connor to show you all a demo of commit asyn and how you would actually push changes to an existing module and get a release.
Thank you, Nate. All right, so everyone can see my screen here. So we are going to go over two open source tools. One is called commit asyn, and the other one is called semantic release. So if no one is familiar with these two tools, here are the two Git repositories that have that contain the documentation for them. And I won't dive into it too much, but we can just dive into it with the demo. So we are going to use these two tools to automate the versioning and release of our modules within the Terraform Cloud registry. So we're going to start with with this no-code module, which is a storage account. So we are going to add on a new feature branch that is just going to add on a container onto this module. So we are going to name it like new container. And in here, we are going to just add on a new container onto this module. So every time someone runs this module, they will be given a container already in their storage account. So it looks like Copilot already wants me to add some, already knows what I want. So we can add that in. We're going to name this HashiTalks container. And awesome. And we got it set up to private. We don't need a depends on. And there we go. So using commitIsIn, we can actually add on a feature right here. So what this does is commitIsIn will have a couple options here, and it allows you to format your commit messages correctly to align with the semantic release versioning. So since we're adding on a new feature, we are going to prefix our commit message with feature, and then here we are going to want to add in what we are doing, not what we have done, but what we will be doing. So we're going to add in new container for storage account, and we can commit and push this. And now we can go back to the repo and merge that into main, and then go back to here, and then I can show you how this timeline up here updates, because that is a big portion. And then we will also see exactly how this will be automated with the semantic release versioning. So in here, here is our commit message. We are going to merge back to main. So we're going to open this up, and we are just for, oh, looks like we have a merge conflict. So we're just going to fix this. For some reason, we can do live debugging here. There we go. And this is resolve this. And awesome. So we are not going to wait for an approver, but in actual production stuff, you probably will. But just for the case of this demo, we are going to merge this in. Awesome. So we no longer need the branch. So now that we have this feature added into our repository, we're going to go back and take a look at actions. And you will now see that our semantic release workflow has kicked off. So this will automatically take a look at your latest commit, read it, and then based on the prefix, which will be either feature or fix, it will cut a release off for your module. So when that finishes, you will then see a new release down here. So we're just going to wait for this to update. But while this is running, we can go back and take a look at what this now looks like. So the main reason that you use commitIsIn is to also keep track and have a clean history of your changes within your module. So now looking at the Git timeline, you can see that, well, it kind of screwed up here, but based on these past commits, we have a clean change log. Whereas like other modules, maybe like this one right here, everything is kind of messy, intertwined, and it's kind of hard to keep track of what is changing. But using commitIsIn and semantic release, you can easily keep track and have a clean timeline of your changes. So now we can go down here and look at our releases and see that we have a new release cutoff with automatic release notes generated for your module. And then that'll automatically be updated within the Terraform Cloud registry. which you can always see here as well, which now we have the new 1.3 version. And that is all automated. And that is all automated with Comitizen and semantic release. And that is everything on our side.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us, y'all. If anybody has any questions about this workflow that we built, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, any of the socials. We'd be happy to chat about it.